Imagine living in one of the most secretive and dangerous countries on Earth, a place where even a simple mistake could cost you your freedom or your life. This is the story of Kim Dong-chul, a Korean-American businessman who became an unlikely spy inside North Korea, risking everything to gather intelligence for the United States and South Korea. His journey would take him into the heart of one of the world's most isolated regimes, where surveillance is absolute, trust is a luxury, and survival depends on perfect deception. Kim was born in South Korea during a time of tremendous upheaval and uncertainty. He witnessed firsthand the divisions that tore the Korean peninsula apart, creating two nations locked in perpetual conflict. Later in life, he immigrated to the United States, building a new future and eventually becoming a naturalized U.S. citizen. He pursued the American dream, establishing businesses and creating a life far removed from the tensions of his homeland. But fate had other plans for Kim Dong-chul. Before his arrest, Kim ran a successful business and operated a hotel in the Rason Special Economic Zone, located in North Korea's northeastern corner near the borders with China and Russia. Rason was one of the few places where foreign businessmen could operate with relative freedom, an experimental zone where North Korea cautiously opened its doors to outside investment. To outsiders, Kim was just another entrepreneur seeking opportunities in one of the world's last frontier markets. He managed his hotel, conducted business deals, and navigated the complex bureaucracy of operating in North Korea. But behind the walls of his hotel and along the quiet streets of Rason, Kim had a very different mission, one that would define the rest of his life. Kim had been recruited to secretly gather information on North Korea's nuclear programs and other sensitive military activities, an operation that would put him directly in the crosshairs of the world's most secretive state. The decision to accept this mission was not made lightly. Kim understood the risks better than most. He knew that North Korea's security apparatus was ruthlessly efficient, that foreigners were constantly monitored, and that the punishment for espionage was severe. Yet he also understood the stakes. North Korea's nuclear ambitions threatened regional stability and global security. The information he could provide might help prevent a catastrophic conflict that could cost millions of lives. Kim entered North Korea in 2009, carefully constructing his cover as a legitimate businessman. The transition was gradual, methodical, designed to avoid suspicion. He traveled freely within certain designated zones, making contacts with local officials, establishing business relationships, and slowly building a network that would prove invaluable for intelligence gathering. He collected documents that revealed military movements, observed activities near suspected nuclear facilities, and carefully documented changes in North Korea's defense infrastructure. Every piece of information, no matter how small, was potentially significant. A new road being constructed, unusual military traffic, conversations overheard in restaurants, all of it painted a picture that foreign intelligence agencies could not access through satellites or remote surveillance. Kim carefully maintained his cover, interacting with North Koreans, as any foreign businessman would. He attended official functions, paid the required bribes, and navigated the endless bureaucratic hurdles that defined business in North Korea. All the while, he was transmitting critical information back to U.S. and South Korean intelligence through carefully established channels. The methods were sophisticated, designed to avoid detection in a country where communication was heavily monitored. Dead drops, encrypted messages, and coded conversations became part of his daily routine. It was a dangerous game. One wrong word, one suspicious glance, one monitoring device he failed to detect, and his life could end behind bars or worse. The pressure was constant, unrelenting, a weight that never lifted. For 6 years, Kim operated successfully inside North Korea, a remarkable achievement in a country where foreign intelligence operatives rarely lasted more than a few months before being detected. He witnessed the evolution of North Korea's nuclear program, the tightening grip of the Kim regime, and the daily struggles of ordinary North Koreans living under one of the world's most oppressive governments. The intelligence he gathered was considered highly valuable, filling critical gaps in what Western governments knew about North Korea's capabilities and intentions. But in October 2015, Kim's luck ran out. North Korean authorities arrested him on charges of espionage and subversion. The arrest was sudden, calculated, and devastating. They accused him of stealing top-secret military and nuclear information and passing it to foreign intelligence agencies, charges that, unlike many North Korean accusations, were largely accurate. The North Korean state media broadcasted his confession to the world, a carefully staged production where Kim, appearing haggard and defeated, admitted to his crimes and begged for forgiveness. State television called his actions an unpardonable crime against the Korean people. In the tightly controlled environment of Pyongyang, such confessions were not just warnings, they were public statements of power, meant to intimidate potential spies and demonstrate North Korea's vigilance to the world. Kim was taken to a high-security prison, likely one of the facilities reserved for political prisoners and those accused of crimes against the state. These prisons were notorious for their harsh conditions and brutal treatment. Reports indicate he was interrogated daily, subjected to psychological pressure, and forced repeatedly to confess to his espionage activities in ever more elaborate detail. He lived under constant surveillance, every moment of his existence monitored and controlled. Sleep deprivation, isolation, and the constant threat of severe punishment became his new reality. For Kim, every interaction mattered. Every glance at a guard, every answer to a question, every gesture could be interpreted as defiance or submission, potentially determining whether he lived or died. While the world watched from afar, Kim remained largely faceless. His true identity and the full extent of his activities controlled and filtered through North Korean propaganda, a pawn in a much larger geopolitical game between nuclear powers. Kim's arrest sparked immediate international attention and created a diplomatic crisis. The United States and South Korea faced a delicate and dangerous challenge, securing his release without escalating already high tensions with Pyongyang. Behind the scenes, diplomats engaged in complex, high-stakes negotiations. They had to balance intelligence secrecy with humanitarian concerns, national security with the life of one man. Every public statement, every diplomatic gesture was carefully calculated. Too much pressure could endanger Kim's life. Too little might signal that espionage against North Korea carried no consequences for the regime. World leaders privately considered the implications. If Kim was executed, it could ignite global outrage and potentially derail any diplomatic progress. If he was released quietly, it might strengthen back-channel diplomatic communications with Pyongyang and open doors for future negotiations. After nearly 3 years in detention, 906 days of imprisonment, Kim was finally released in May 2018. His freedom came during a period of unprecedented diplomatic engagement between the United States and North Korea. President Trump and Kim Jong-un were preparing for their historic summit in Singapore, and the release of American prisoners was seen as a goodwill gesture and a prerequisite for successful negotiations. Kim was one of 3 American prisoners released simultaneously, flown out of North Korea on a U.S. government aircraft in the early morning hours, a moment captured by international media. His release was celebrated quietly by those who knew the true story behind the headlines. Espionage is often glamorized in movies and television, portrayed as thrilling adventures with clear heroes and villains. But Kim's story is a stark reminder of espionage's real human cost. The isolation of living a double life, the constant fear of discovery, one small error, one moment of carelessness, and years of careful intelligence gathering can end in disaster, not just for the spy, but for everyone connected to the operation. Kim Dong-chul's story teaches us profound lessons about courage. This is the reality of espionage, diplomacy, and the hidden world that shapes our lives, protects our security, and influences the course of history, all while remaining invisible to the vast majority of people who benefit from these secret sacrifices. If you want more stories of espionage, secret missions, and hidden truths from around the world, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. The world of intelligence is vast, complex, and full of untold stories waiting to be discovered.